To grow your business, you need to pick the financial tool that actually matches your ambitions and lines up with your potential.
Exactly. Listen to yourself and do what you know deep down is right. Sure, financial advisors will tell you all about the different tools out there, but your job is to tune in to yourself, not just your mind. If your main goal is just to make money, you're always going to lose it, even if you manage to earn it for a while. But if your focus is on creating a really great product that brings joy to other people and you genuinely enjoy making the world better in some way, it's like the pleasure you get from a nice dinner out or from painting a picture. It's about enjoying the process, the one that ultimately brings joy to whoever comes into contact with it. Like a singer who loves performing a song and then gets even more joy back when the audience feels it too.
Here's a question. Do you think there will be new tools for financing businesses? Maybe we just don't see them yet. So would you say yes or no, they'll exist?
I see government programs coming that will be based on research done by futurist institutes. They'll look at trends, brands, and development prospects, and then start funding projects that haven't yet gathered enough collective love, so to speak. It's like that time you mentioned your Love Politics Club. I remember telling you, Nicole, yeah, cool idea, but I don't see the foundation yet. Later, I admitted it really was a cool idea, but it had absolutely no foundation because it needed to be built from scratch.
Created.
And once that foundation was there, we saw it for what it really was, this huge concept that could actually change the world. That's what these scientific, research-based futurist institutes could do. Analyze all kinds of businesses and startups, then pick out the ones with real potential to steer society and even the whole planet in a new direction.
So right now, what do we actually have in this area? Basically, grants get handed out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it'll be some kind of innovative way of rewarding or...
Let's put it this way. It'll be more like advancing things based on a futurist analysis of the potential of different businesses.
According to the theory, you can't get maximum profit with minimum risk. Do you think there'll be new ways to optimize investment portfolios, ones that don't rely on analysis at all, but purely on intuition and some measure of love?
That question pretty much contains its own answer. What is love? It's being at peace with whatever outcome might happen. Years ago, I used to say, want to know how much love you have? Look at how deeply do you actually feel happiness, whether it's when you gain something that brings you joy or lose something that used to give you pleasure. And how much of that feeling of happiness actually stays in balance within you. We're not talking about someone who's shut down, who gains or loses something and just stands there numb, feeling nothing. That doesn't work. Love is that calm, inner peace and trust in the world. And if you have that, it shows your capacity, your readiness for money. Because when I was consulting some business owners, I'd tell them, it's better not to take this person on as a partner. His capacity is too small, and since he's not willing to expand it through goodness, love, or altruism, he'll end up lying, stealing, or taking bribes. In other words, he'll drop into the lower levels of making money. That's not healthy or sustainable. What is healthy is expanding that capacity.
You know, this is actually a super interesting question. Let me read the lead-in. According to theory, you can't get maximum profit with minimum risk. The usual thinking is, if we want to make money, we have to pick a ton of different units, different assets to interact with. That way, maybe one of them will take off and we'll get something out of it. So it's kind of sneaky. Will there be new ways to optimize these investment portfolios that are based not on analysis, but purely on intuition and measuring love? Like, can I just pick a couple products for my portfolio and they'll give me the max profit?
The maximum profit for that specific person. Because for one person, max profit might mean $1 million. For someone else, it's 10 grand. And for another, it's simply a loaf of bread.
Here's how I see it. We already have these amazing love mechanisms, right? I mean, we can actually feel what we want, what we like, how we'd prefer things to be. But just because some awesome company stock comes along and we vibe with it, doesn't necessarily mean it'll take off, right? So why can't we already use this approach, just our own state, to say, I want to buy these shares because I feel there's so much love there, and I'll amplify it with my own love, like you've talked about before. Can we just go ahead and say, this is the only one I'm buying, and I'll meditate on it and pour love into it?
In a way, that's exactly how it works. You know, it's like going into a grocery store. You're automatically going to pick products that match your energy. You're not going to pick something above or below your frequency. You'll only take what you deserve. So even if we develop optimization tools, they'll still just lead us back to our own internal algorithm. Let me give you an example. I had this couple come to me. They wanted to sell their apartment for way more than the current market value.
They just wanted to sell, period.
Right, but they wanted way more than the market was offering. They said they weren't satisfied with what buyers were proposing. I told them it was a lack of love, a lack of divinity, that they needed to be ready inside to let it go and also figure out what they'd reinvest that money into to keep it ecological and beneficial for the world. We don't always hear what we're being told because it takes capacity to receive it. So what they heard was, we need more love. They started having more sex, paying more attention to each other, and the money came. Exactly the amount they were hoping for, way more than anyone had originally offered. But then the very first thing they did once they got it was invest it out of fear, not out of growth and curiosity like we discussed. They threw it into crypto, and almost immediately the cryptocurrency dropped in value right back down to the same price they could have sold their property for in the first place.
For the standard price?
Yeah, exactly. The amount they'd originally been offered. So
basically all the extra money just...
Yeah, because when you use force, manipulating or juggling external events without truly shifting your inner state and reflex patterns, sure, you might achieve a certain profit or level of efficiency, but if you don't anchor it with the right actions, actions that keep your mindset aligned with this new level, then something will happen that makes your subconscious take that money away from you because you're simply not ready for it. Or you'll stash it away somewhere, never actually use it, and it'll just sit there like something you supposedly received, but that never truly served you. I've seen this all the time in Europe. People who are stingy and super frugal end up inheriting or earning large sums, stick them in the bank, and keep living exactly the same tight, limited way. Then they pass away, and the money's just left sitting there. What's really happening is they've made an energy agreement with themselves. I'll keep being a miser, and these funds will exist only as a theoretical bonus, completely separate from me. So, yeah, God allows them to technically have large sums, but they never actually use them because they've detached themselves from it. They can keep living modestly and frugally and only virtually possess that wealth.
Okay, honestly, I'd love to keep spinning this question around. Like, how exactly do I build an investment portfolio with love? But somehow this topic just doesn't fully open up.
I'll put it this way. Maybe it'll sound like a bit of a plug, but spend more time actually being men and women. Pay more attention to the men and women close to you, and play with excitement different kinds of games, including both imaginative and situational. Kind of like in your Love Politics Club.
Although virtual today kind of has a very specific digital meaning.
Right. I mean, there are virtual games that are tied to computers, and those kinds of games end up draining your energy, even more than you realize, because they tap into egregores.
So you mean more like playing with our perception of the world?
With your imagination, but in ways that involve real physical action. When you stretch your mind's flexibility and your ability to think in images and do it with humor, lightness, and a playful spirit, it pushes your boundaries outward. In daily life, like I always say, money is just a tool for fulfilling desires. And for desires to come true, first you actually need to have desires. And second, you need to know how to relate to men in a positive, creative way. By that I mean, for women, it's about your dad and your men. For men, it's about your dad and your male friends, because money, career, and creativity, that's all tied to masculine energy. And when we're talking about finances, we're also talking about desire. And desire is tied to interest, which is also masculine. So the more interest a woman has in men, in sex, in new things, in being effective, and the more she can take responsibility and enjoy what she already has while still dreaming big and living in the pleasure of the here and now, the better her finances will be. Then the tools she needs will just naturally show up and bring about the very best outcomes.
All right, let's jump to the next question, which honestly sounds hilarious. I'll also share the little backstory of how this even popped into someone's head. The question is, do time travelers exist who go back into the past to make money off knowing how financial markets will change? The best example that popped into my mind was obviously Back to the Future. Remember how Bill, I think that was his name, used the time machine to go back and hand his younger, clueless self that sports almanac and said, bet on all of these. Was it horse racing?
Football games and everything else, actually.
Right, but anyway, the point of this question is, maybe we, right now, are actually ourselves from the future, watching how everything plays out, figuring out where we should direct our attention, where to invest our energy and finances. So maybe it's literally us from the future guiding how we earn, how we act, what we invest in. Make sense?
Honestly, by the time you finished explaining that, it didn't even sound like a question anymore.
True.
That was pretty much an answer.
So that's really how it is?
A long time ago, I asked myself, who's helping me with all this? And the answer was, you from the future. Because the future influences us way more than the past ever could. It wants to be realized through us. It literally creates favorable conditions, so the version it needs gets to unfold.
So, bringing it back to the whole topic of the universe, are we basically a projection of the future into our own past, aligning that impulse with the current reality through our attention and our actions? And so the more successful we are there, the more we serve the world, the more bonuses we get to enjoy here?
It's kind of like investing. You want to know how it really works?
Not always in a straight line.
You want to know how it works?
How?
We simply thank God, who, by the way, we connect with right here through our heart center for everything that's ever happened in our life, for everything we grade an A or an F, whether we call it good or bad. We thank Him for all of it.
Oh, I'm literally going to do that right now.
And we wish love and happiness, harmony, and natural acceptance to ourselves, the one who lived through every single second back then. When you make that a habit, it's like you're funding yourself from this point right now. Then this version of you here starts sending resources back to that version of you there. And because you keep sending love, 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 gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Well, after 10 years of just doing this, of playing this game of love and gratitude toward your past self, it leads to exponential growth. A kind of growth most people can't even imagine. It seems almost linear, but year after year, it compounds and produces massive results. Because you're consciously supporting yourself back in the past. And since thoughts exist in another dimension, outside of time and space, you're automatically helping yourself right now.
So it's like we already have access.
So make it a habit to wish your past self love and happiness often. It'll bring you huge rewards in the here and now, because by then you'll already have that habit and your future self will be wishing it for you while you're right here receiving all of it.